What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. The U.S. is trying to negotiate this debt ceiling here in our country. And this is really big because we now have banks collapsing, and this is kind of intermingled here. And we have this financial turmoil here. People are scared about their money in the bank. Is it safe? People get their checks deposited in the bank. Okay. And is our financial system even safe? We now have Credit Suisse, which is worth over $500 billion worldwide, which has failed, which is more than 2.5 times the size of SVB Bank, which was the second largest bank in the US to fail ever. That's failed. So we have even larger banks worldwide failing now. So how big is this problem in the US and worldwide? How many more big banks are going to fail in the US or worldwide? How large is this problem? What more is going to be happening here going forward? Okay. And the US hasn't even fixed the debt ceiling problem. Could the US actually fail? Because if they don't, this is literally the whole government, the whole financial system. Here's what House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, the leader of the Republicans, has to say about this. Take a listen.
And joining us now, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Mr. Speaker, great to have you on to highlight this here first on what's contained in your letter you saw. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We can see what little tremors do in the financial system. We've seen that the last couple of weeks, which makes us think what a true impasse would mean if something happens here. Given what you're saying and given the response from the White House press secretary, it doesn't seem like we've made any progress since that meeting you had 2 months ago with President Biden.
We've made no progress. And Joe, you know me, I'm always an optimist. I'm not now. They asked to pass just to raise the debt ceiling. Well, they control the Senate. They can't pass it in the Senate. Even Democrats in the House tell me they would not vote for that. So that's off the table. The president and I met more than 2 months ago. Since that time, he has misled the whole Congress and the country. When we were together at the prayer breakfast, he says we're going to sit down the next day, told the entire Congress that we're going to meet. At the Democratic retreat, he told the Democrats that we were planning meetings. He's never had one meeting. It's been more than 2 months. Time is ticking. Now I'm very concerned about where we are. Look, we've came with an idea of being very reasonable, responsible, to limit, save, and grow. We picked ideas that Democrats have for. Limit the amount of spending. That's what Joe Manchin says. The outgrowth, non-defense, just cap how fast you can grow. Find savings. We have billions of dollars of unspent COVID money that sat dormant for more than 2 years. You can grab some of that back. Find our ability to grow this economy through energy. Maybe you do something when it comes to securing our border. Maybe you do work requirements, things that he voted for as a senator, which Bill Clinton put in, for those with no dependents. These are ideas that we have more than $4 trillion in savings. And now the economy is even a worse position because of his extreme spending levels, what they took with all Democrats in power. I am more concerned than I have ever been to be able to get this debt ceiling done because he refuses to meet with anybody and then misleads the American public, and the markets aren't seeing that.
In the letter you say I have no interest in brinkmanship, but it seems like both sides are, at least at this point, ready to take it there. And do you see any room for negotiation at all at this point? What if the president, every time we talk to him, what if he says, clean debt? We did it during Trump 2 or 3 times with a clean raise. Democrats gave you a clean raise. We want a clean raise. You'll never do that.
Joe, we never did a clean during Trump. You can talk to anybody there. You can talk to Nancy Pelosi. What they did was, we'll raise the debt ceiling if you add more spending. It was an agreement between the two. Joe Biden did this in 2011, the Joe Biden agreement talks. Every time you have a discussion, 74% of the American public wants us to sit down. We're now at a more extreme position that we've ever been with the Democrats in power. They are spending more than in the 50-year average. Normally, we only spend about 21% of GDP. They're up to 23.7. We just had the Congressional Budget Office tell us we're going to have to pay more than 10.5 trillion just in interest in the next 10 years. But in the last 80 years, we have only had to pay 9 trillion interest. We are at a brink point. We now have a banking crisis because of interest rates going up because of the Democrats' extreme spending levels. The Republicans are not playing brinkmanship. I'm not interested in that. I want to sit down. I went to the president at the beginning of February. I told him at the very up front, everything's on the table. Let's talk where we can find ways. Let's see where we can grow this economy. From the very beginning, he told the American public after that meeting, even tweeting, yes, we can work together. He told the Congress, yes, we're going to meet. He told the Democrats at their retreat, oh, I'm going to meet with Kevin. The only difference is he won't ever schedule that meeting. He wants to create a crisis here, and that's what I'm concerned about. The American public has to be warned based upon what this president's doing. If they think they can just raise the debt limit, then why don't they do it in the Senate tomorrow? Because the Democrats won't vote for it either.
Wow. Some very strong words, convincing words from Kevin McCarthy. I honestly can't really disagree with anything he said there. Again, I'm not from either parties. I'm just a realist, and a lot of what he said makes sense there. Now, of course, he didn't go into a lot of specifics there. He's just speaking in general about a lot of things. Paying over $1 trillion a year just in interest for our country is insane. Economies of scale, we just kind of hit exponential growth in a terrible way interest-wise. It's just insane what has kind of happened to our country. And if you've seen the previous video here, I'll link that to you here afterwards. You've got to watch that. I think it was the video between Senator John Kennedy and Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. Biden's proposal to actually lower the deficit. This is absolutely insane, the conversation between the two. Biden actually is going to lower the deficit, believe it or not. You got to hear this conversation. It's mind-blowing. And yet our deficit, our country's deficit, our fiscal debt will grow to $51 trillion in the next 9 to 10 years. And yet this plan by Biden actually reduces it. It would actually be more than $51 trillion in the next 10 years. The projection, the rate that our debt is growing at. This is just kind of shows you how insane things are for our country. And it's just crazy. It's just it's crazy to show like what the pace that we're at. And it's like they can't print the money fast enough. And this is kind of where the Republicans have taken the stance right now that they're not going to raise the debt ceiling. So it's capped right now, $31.4 trillion. They can't print any more money at this point until Congress allows them to raise it. Okay. So at this point, they're not allowed to print any more money. Okay. So right now, they're only allowed to basically use the money that comes in on a daily basis from tax collections. Okay. And it's a very interesting situation right now. And at some point here in the near future, in like the next like couple months, we're going to basically the money that's sitting in the government checking accounts, per se, this is kind of the easiest way to think about this, is going to run out because we run a deficit. Okay. So the money that the government has on hand is running out here, and they're already kind of running what they call extraordinary measures. Okay. So they basically cut back on all these extra things that they normally would spend money on. So they're kind of running lean. Like a person that would be, oh, I'm not going to splurge on this, that, and the other thing. The government's kind of stopped splurging on a lot of things here. Believe it or not, can you believe the government's doing that? And so they're running a lean ship. They're only eating ramen noodles and water if you can kind of think of it that way. And they're going to run out of money here in a few months. The government credit card is no longer working. They can't borrow any more money. They can't print any more money until Congress allows them to do so past this $31.4 trillion on their credit line. But they can't do it until Congress says, okay, we're going to allow you to do it. And this is the debt ceiling. Yeah. So this is kind of the problem, but Republicans are saying we're not going to pass it with the Democrats until we go through some cuts, because we can't just get to $51 trillion in 10 years from $31 trillion where we are now in the next 10 years. It's just getting, it's insane. It's just going crazy here. And then don't forget the Social Security is projected to run out of money in the next 9 to 10 years as well. And if that happens, I have a video here on that I'll link you to as well. Social Security would literally, the projections from the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, say that if they don't do something, if they don't change it, if they don't change the projections by raising taxes for Social Security or, raising the retirement age, which, they're literally gathering in the streets right now in France to say, what are we going to do? And all they're doing in France right now is raising the retirement age by 2 years from age 62 to 64. Our retirement age is already higher than that. They're talking about age 70 for Social Security here in the U.S., just to put it in perspective, okay? But if they don't do anything, we could run out of money in the Social Security Trust Fund in as early as by 2033, okay? So less than 10 years. And if that's the case, Social Security would only have the money coming in that potentially, if this happens, these are projections. We don't actually know what's going to happen in the future, right? This is the future. The Congressional Budget Office is projecting. Then they would only have the money that's coming in on a yearly basis, on a monthly basis. So people would have to live on only the money that's coming in. Because the problem here is that the money that was paid in years and years and years ago were pennies on the dollars compared to today's dollars. Okay, so when the money you're getting today, the 8.7% raise is, the fourth largest raise ever. The money we paid in years and years and years ago from the 90s and the 80s and the 70s, that money was pennies compared to today's dollars, which is hugely expensive. I mean, think about how much everything costs nowadays. It's way more expensive. I mean, gas back then was less than $1. It was pennies. Gas nowadays is $3 a gallon, $4 a gallon, $5 a gallon. Everything is more expensive today. So you're getting paid a lot more money than what you paid in Social Security back then. That's why Social Security is going broke. It's one of the reasons, right? So these are kind of the problems here. Our country has a lot of problems, but running out of money in a lot of different ways is one of the major problems. And printing the cash printer, Jerome Powell's cash printer goes brrr, is a problem, and in a lot of different ways. And inflation is kind of hurting us all, and they're just raising interest rates. It's in a lot of ways, everything is just kind of piling up here on us. So what are your thoughts on this? So I'll keep you up to date here on this, because all this stuff, and this is why I like to show you guys these conversations here from Republicans, from Democrats, from Congress, on how they're going to try to fix this. So yeah, if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe down below, click the bell icon so you don't miss out on new videos. They come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's completely free to do so. Literally the best price you can get here. And if you appreciate these videos, don't forget to hit the like button for us as well. Here's those videos you can watch next. Here's the video between Janet Yellen and the senator talking about how our country is going to get to $51 trillion in debt. Click on that if you haven't yet. Or you can click here to see the video about how Social Security can get up to a 24 to 25% cut if they don't make significant changes. Yeah, so click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video.